Are GPU prices really coming down? Are they really in stock more? Well, I did a little research. I went to my local store today to see what's going on, and we're also going to take a look at online places that everybody has access to. Let's see if there are any differences at all, and you may actually be surprised. Let's get started. Hey guys, Thiago with Classical Technology here. Remember to subscribe and smash that like button. They say every time you do, situation with GPUs does get a little bit easier. So let's do a real world analysis of what's going on with both stock and availability. And I figured what best way to do it than walk into a local store that sells these. In the US, of course, it's going to be Micro Center. Not everybody has them, but we're also going to talk about online stores, eBay. We're going to check Newegg. We're going to see if there are anything else in stock, anything coming up. So first, I went to my local Micro Center today. It's not any special day. There aren't any launches or any special deliveries or anything like that. But they did get a regular delivery of the newer Nvidia GPUs. Basically, what they told me, they had a fairly significant amount of 3070 Ti's. They said they haven't had really any 3070s for a while. 3080s have also been pretty much a miss. Really, like for the last few months, those have been a little bit more difficult to get. But the 3070 Ti, they do have them in stock, and while prices tend to be a little bit higher than maybe a base MSRP, they're really not overpriced by a considerable amount. They're going to be pretty much within a few $100s of sort of like the Founders Edition 3070 Ti or the base $599 price. They're not extremely far off, but in general, the third-party GPUs will be a bit more expensive. And they also had a pretty significant amount of 3090s in stock, or at least significant compared to what they usually get or compared to a 3080. Now, most of these are from MSI, and now the 3090 does seem to be priced, a little bit more than it was a few months ago. Originally, like the MSI Trio was probably under $2,000, maybe closer to like $1,800 to $1,900, but now they're pretty much well over $2,000, usually coming in at around $2,200, but they are in stock. Even a few months ago, when you would look sort of in a store like this, there would be absolutely nothing. Even if it was priced at, at this price or a little bit higher, earlier on in the year, you really could find absolutely nothing in stock at all. So even though prices are still high, it's still something that, is changing every single week. At least the good news is they are available at closer prices to MSRP than before. So 3070 Ti, 3090, if you walk into a store like this, like a Micro Center, most likely you may be able to buy it. Prices definitely coming down. Now, other GPUs definitely not in stock at all. Like, 3080s are very difficult to find, even the regular 3070s. So all this has to do with maybe a little bit better manufacturing, as well as all of like the Ethereum mining craze. It kind of settled down a little bit. It's still going. It's not completely dead or anything like that, but at least it's a little bit quieter than it was back in May. Now, if we look over to the AMD cards, they have a significant amount of stock of AMD cards, much more than Nvidia. The problem here is the prices are really fairly outrageous. They're much more expensive. A lot of the 6900 XTs are $2,000 and above, some of them going as high as $2,600 or $2,700. Now, this isn't the fault of the store. From what I've heard, it seems like it's most likely the third-party AIB partner that just set these really high prices. In the case here with AMD, we're talking about Power Color. They make a variety of AMD GPUs, and of course, even if you go down to the 6700 XT, they do have plenty in stock, but they're going to be between $800 to $900, which still is close to the original MSRP of a 6900 XT. So you can see here that the AMD pricing perhaps a little bit more aggressive, and they were actually the first ones to stay on the shelves during the last few months. It was fairly recently, maybe like a month or two ago, that you really started to see these overpriced GPUs actually stay on there. Like I said, in the beginning of the year and going up until May, everything was basically empty. You would walk into the store and you wouldn't even have overpriced AMD GPUs. So certainly this is a pretty good sign, but I must say the prices on these AMD GPUs still hasn't really gone down at all. It's pretty much stayed more or less around the same level. So hopefully we start to see them go down, as well as the Nvidia stock improve. That's going to equalize all of these prices. So aside from actually walking into the store and asking what's going on, a lot of people aren't buying the 30 3090s and the more expensive GPUs because they think within the next few months we're going to have considerably cheaper GPUs. So let's say if I pull up my phone and, check on eBay, let's say the 3080, which they haven't had in stock too much. That's one of the GPUs a lot of people like for the price to performance when it originally came out at $699. Now, checking on my eBay here, it seems like a lot of 3080s, brand new. For example, here's an EVGA. This is going to be a 3080 XC Ultra. Seems like it sold for $1,500 with free shipping. And there are a couple in MSI RTX 3080 Gaming X Trio, $1,549, and there's a little bit of shipping as well. Let's see what else we have here. A For the Win 3 EVGA 3080 For the Win 3, $1,600 with a $12 shipping. So fair to say that the 3080 perhaps is down to maybe between $1,500 to $1,600, which of course it's really, really high. But if you remember back in May during the peak, these 3080s were selling for considerably more, often over $2,000, between like $2,000 to $2,200 depending on the model. And the 3090 was close to $3,000. Some models like the 3090 Kingpin were closer to $4,000. So even though the pricing is still high right now, and I'm not saying buy or anything like that, still very, very high. Certainly it has come down. Basically, I remember, let's compare this pricing to the 3070. The 3070s were selling for basically $1,400 to $1,500 back in May. So the 3080 is now going back into that level, and 3070s are going back down to around $900 to $1,000. So you can see both on the 3080 and 3070, we've had a reduction that's pretty considerable, around $400 to $500 on those GPUs on average. Of course, these are mostly like new GPUs that people are selling for. It's still well over the price, but if you take a GPU that was selling for $2,000 and $500, that's 25% less at $1,500. Of course, we want to get down to at least 50% or close to that. You want to see these 3080s closer to what the 3070 is now. Originally, they're supposed to be $699, and some of these beefier models you can expect to be $800 to $900. So if the prices get down to between like $1,000 to $1,100, that's certainly going to be a lot more attractive for people actually wanting to buy. And then of course the 3080 Ti is going to be a similar story. Sometimes you may be able to actually find those for close to a 3080 because they do have a couple of differences, even though they game as good as the 3090. If somebody is looking for it, if they want to mine or something like that, it is going to be the light hash rate LHR. So that's something to keep in mind if you plan to resell or use the GPU for other things aside from gaming, if you want to mine and things like that. So looking at the prices in real time, it certainly seems like things are coming down. But here's the question: should you buy? Well, I still think absolutely not. I think you need to wait a little bit longer before it really makes sense to buy the GPUs. They're still priced very, very highly. And recently I did a video saying that it may even make sense to skip RTX 3000, wait for the next generation or the next upgrade that comes along. If you have something like a 2060 or even a 1080 Ti on up. Of course, if you're playing with something that's still going to be a lot older, like maybe one of the older AMD GPUs or like a 1070, or maybe something that's not as powerful and not really allowing you to comfortably play your games, then of course you can make as much of an effort to get a newer RTX GPU. But for a lot of people with a fairly modern GPU, it's really likely not worth it, especially at these very high prices. So I would say try not to buy anything now. Try to make do with what you have. It's not like there are really any great games or anything like that really taking advantage of the processing power of these new GPUs. There are a couple of use cases. Of course, Battlefield, there's going to be a new one coming out. That's going to be really, really interesting. Some people do use it for VR and different things that they really need a newer GPU. But in general, I think the GPUs that are out now more than adequate to be able to play games, and it doesn't make sense to buy them at these inflated prices. And as we've seen with this sort of market update, it's still not at the point where we really need it to be at. It's not even at the point where it was at the end of last year. We're still very, very high, even though the prices are certainly coming down by sometimes as much as 25 to 30%. We need them to come down even more than that for it to make sense. All right, guys, let me know what you're seeing when you're searching for GPUs, be it Facebook Marketplace or eBay, wherever you look, or even a local store if you have one. Remember to subscribe, smash that like button, and I'll see you guys on the next video.